Let's go, Mamdani. Let's go. And I definitely can live with someone beating Andrew Cuomo, who has a very long track record in New York, it's true, of complete corruption. There isn't a donor that he hasn't pleasured in the state of New York.
You know, we have so many incredible candidates, and yet, looking at all of them, they still decided to throw all of their weight behind Andrew Cuomo. The message that they send and what the political establishment sends to so many people is that it does not matter your positions, your content, your ideas, how experienced you are. It doesn't matter how much you work with them. They will still choose their old friends and an old generation every single time.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez called out the Democrats for shutting down people outside the party establishment while campaigning for Zoran Mamdani in New York over the weekend. She was condemning Democratic leadership for backing Andrew Cuomo, despite the credible accusations of sexual assault against him and his history of corruption. Before we get to the latest on the New York mayoral race, Cenk, initial thoughts on what AOC said?
Yeah, so times are changing. AOC's changing. You guys have seen me say it publicly. I've said it privately. I've said it everywhere I can. Corporate Democrats are not your friends. They're not your colleagues. Establishment Democrats are not going to look out for you. All that colleague talk is garbage, meant to trick progressives and populists into not fighting back. And you guys saw me say on this show, what, hundreds of times, maybe thousands of times. The minute they get a chance, they're gonna put a knife in your back and they're gonna try to eliminate every progressive from Congress. If you weren't sure about that, go ask Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, Marie Newman, all Justice Democrats who were betrayed by their so-called colleagues. They're not your friends at all. Their job is to get more corrupt Democrats elected. They are your political opponents. Wake up, okay? None of them are on your side. So unfortunately, it took AOC a long time to wake up, but I love that speech. Good, good. I'll always take yes for an answer. I hope she keeps it going, and I hope soon she begins to name names. Because a lot of times Bernie and AOC, while they're going in the right direction and beautiful, I love it, well, their water's edge is names. Oh, well, I mean, our colleagues, but shh. Meanwhile, do they spare anyone? No. Mamdani, terrible. Yeah, they're awful. Andrew Cuomo. No, Cuomo is corruption defined. Let's get to that story.
Yeah. Well, as we approach the June 24th primary, the polls are getting narrower and narrower. Most still show Cuomo winning, but a few days ago, a poll found that Mamdani was in the lead for the first time. The survey conducted by Public Policy Polling for Democrat Justin Brannon's city controller campaign found Mamdani beating Cuomo 35% to 31%, a difference that is narrowly within the 4.1% margin of error. And with a tightening race has come more attacks on Zoran. The Atlantic published a piece titled, "New York is not a democracy. Could ranked choice voting help Zoran Mamdani beat Andrew Cuomo?" In it, author Annie Lowry makes this insane comparison. One thing the candidates share, I suppose, is that both get accused of being Nepo babies. What? Mamdani's mother made the 1991 indie romance Mississippi Masala. Cuomo's father was governor of New York. Yeah, those are the same. And
that was just today, funny. I mean,
it's just ridiculous.
And his dad might have been a teacher, and you're saying he's not a Nepo baby? The other one, I mean, the poor guy, his dad was governor. I mean, and he was also governor, and it just kind of fell in his lap. But you see, the real problem is Mamdani and his movie maker mother.
Yeah, it's so desperate. We knew the attacks were going to increase, and there's many more. We're gonna get into one of the funniest heel turns. And this is from the New York Times. Now, they had previously said they weren't going to do any more political endorsements. But today, they published a piece with their quote advice to New Yorkers voting in the mayoral race. And you won't be surprised to hear that they're no fans of Zoran. First, they write, 11 candidates are competing for the Democratic nomination, and many New Yorkers are understandably disappointed by the field. It lacks any candidate who seems likely to be the city's next great mayor. For that reason, we are not endorsing a candidate.
Wink.
Unfortunately, Mr. Mamdani is running on an agenda uniquely unsuited to the city's challenges. He is a democratic socialist who too often ignores the unavoidable trade-offs of governance. He favors rent freezes that could restrict housing supply and make it harder for younger New Yorkers and new arrivals to afford housing. He wants the government to operate grocery stores as if customer service and retail sales were strengths of the public sector. He minimizes the importance of policing. They also claimed Mandani would also bring less relevant experience than perhaps any mayor in New York history, while arguing that Mr. Cuomo has the strongest policy record of the candidates. We do not believe that Mr. Mamdani deserves a spot on New Yorkers' ballots. His experience is too thin, and his agenda reads like a turbocharged version of Mr. de Blasio's dismaying mayoralty. As for Mr. Cuomo, we have serious objections to his ethics and conduct, even if he would be better for New York's future than Mr. Mamdani. The no experience attack is one that Andrew Cuomo hit Mamdani with at the debate, and here is how Zoran immediately hit back. Take a look.
Experience matters. And I think inexperience is dangerous in this case. Mr. Mandani has had a staff of 5 people. You're now going to run a staff of 300,000 employees. To put a person in this seat at this time with no experience is reckless and dangerous.
Mr. Cuomo, I have never had to resign in disgrace. I have never cut Medicaid. I have never stolen hundreds of millions of dollars from the MTA. I have never hounded the 13 women who credibly accused me of sexual harassment. I have never sued for their gynecological records, and I have never done those things because I am not you, Mr. Cuomo. And furthermore, the name is Mamdani, M-A-M-D-A-N-I. You should learn how to say it.
Learn how to say it because there's a good chance he could be the next mayor. God, what a closing line on that. What do you think, Cenk?
Damn, that's what I think. Okay, so look, some of the polls still have Cuomo with a good sized lead, but you can sense the panic in the air from the Cuomo team. And it's not just the Cuomo team. Well, all right, I should rephrase that. It is the Cuomo team, but when I say the Cuomo team, I mean all of mainstream media and all of the establishment Democrats. There's this Mamdani guy, he's trouble. Cuomo, he's so good to the sponsors and the donors and the campaign. We gotta have his experience. We love his experience in corruption. We gotta have it. Oh, I love the smell of panic in the morning. And by the way, this is coming from a guy who doesn't actually agree with all of Mamdani's policies. I think housing prices are totally out of control. I think there's a lot you could do in New York. I don't think rent freeze is the right way to go. Okay, but is that why they're all in a panic? I don't think so at all. Okay, that New York Times editorial, they're like, oh, we are not endorsing anyone. But Cuomo has a great record. Oh, Cuomo's fantastic. Mamdani, with all of his terrible policies and no experience at all. I mean, they did all but spit on him, right? Now, do you want me to show you why I think they have an issue with Mamdani? Yeah, I'll say it. Well, I'll show you. Let's go to the next clip from another debate that they had.
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
Mr. Cuomo?
Given the hostility and the anti-Semitism that has been shown in New York, I would go to Israel.
Mr. Tilson, where would you go?
Yeah, I'd make my 4th trip to Israel, followed by my 5th trip to Ukraine, 2 of our greatest allies fighting on the front lines of the global war on terror.
Mr. Mamdani?
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
You know, they asked the follow-up. They're like, are you saying you wouldn't go to Israel? How dare you? Like, are you guys serious? Like the reporters the moderators of that debate seem genuinely outraged. He's running for the mayor of New York, not of Tel Aviv. So, and then after he gives that answer, and yes, he is Muslim, all of a sudden, all of mainstream media and New York Times is saying, Mandani, how dare he? Well, okay, maybe I can live with the rent freeze. Let's go, Mandani. Let's go. And I definitely can live with someone beating Andrew Cuomo, who has a very long track record in New York, it's true, of complete corruption. There isn't a donor that he hasn't pleasured in the state of New York.
Well, yeah, of course, this question about where would you go and what, basically they're leading, you have to say Israel for this because it's a center right, even to some extent center left position. You have to do it. I think his answer was right. Yeah, I'm running for mayor, not Congress, not president. I'm not working on international affairs here. I'm running for mayor of a massive city. That's what I'm going to focus on. Great answer, smart answer, and they couldn't handle it. But I also want to clarify some things. The Times was misleading with their rent freeze. That is for people who live in rent stabilized apartments, and there are many. And many of them, that's the only way they can stay in the city. So to prevent them from being priced out, greedy developers and corporate landlords want to raise those rents. He's gonna fight for them. This is the working people, the working class, or maybe in some cases the working poor in New York. It's the only way they can stay in the city. Yes, I love that policy. He also does support new housing and new affordable housing. So it's not just going to be, it's not going to prevent new people from coming in. It's going to help lower prices overall. I think it's a smart policy. So I do want to dispel that myth that the New York Times is pushing, likely at the behest of the Cuomo campaign, because that's not entirely accurate. But across the board, it seems like he's got a great set of policies that are putting people first. I hope he gets elected. I mean, obviously it wouldn't affect me, I don't live there, but I see a lot of people who I do care about, who are hard workers, who sometimes struggle to make ends meet. They seem enthused by him. They seem excited at the prospect of him coming in and hopefully enacting some of these policies. He would, if he's elected, he will meet fierce resistance from corporate Democrats in the city government, but I'd love to see what he can do if he gets in there.
Yeah, so I'm really glad you said that, Jordan, because I'm against rent control, period. But Jordan's absolutely right that you have to clarify that it's a rent freeze on the apartments that already have rent control. So it's actually not like some giant bold policy either, but that almost never gets clarified in mainstream media. They just call it a rent freeze, like everybody's rent is gonna freeze. And so they do that trick all the time to smear people. So thank you for pointing that out and for pointing out his affordable housing policies. And again, look, I don't know if the free bus thing's gonna work, et cetera, but I would rather have someone trying policies that I'm not positive about, but they're actually trying to help the average person in New York than have a guy that we know is going to be lock, stock, and barrel for all the richest, most powerful donors in the country. I've got 0% interest in that, so go Mandani. And lastly, my only hesitation about Mandani is he's not gonna visit Istanbul. Oh, I don't know if I could vote for a mayor of New York that doesn't promise to go to a foreign capital of my choosing.
I mean, just that question and the response from the moderators and then Cuomo jumping on him was so absurd because from there, it wasn't just like, oh, okay, that's your answer. It was, you didn't give the right answer, essentially. Because then they were like, do you think Israel has a right to exist? And he laid out, yeah, sure, it does. As a country that protects the rights of everybody, which it currently does not do. And Cuomo's like, that's a no, that's a no. Like, how, they can't fathom the idea that Israel could exist and everyone is equal. Right now, it's an apartheid state. He doesn't accept that, and it seems like the moderators wouldn't either. But you see the bias, even from the media there who are facilitating that debate. No one else got a question. No one, the guy who said Ukraine, he would go to Ukraine. No question about the Donbas region. No question about NATO expansion. Nothing like that, because it doesn't, that fit into their prescribed worldview. But he says, I'm gonna stay in the city, and that led to follow-up questions, leading follow-up questions. It's journalistic malpractice, honestly, and you can see the bias there.
Yeah, super last thing. Jordan, again, 100% right about that. The outrage from the moderators is hilarious and revealing. Oh, how about Israel's right to exist, huh? Wait, we're talking about the city of New York. He's running for mayor. What does that have to do with anything? Oh yeah, what do you think about the Turkish presidential elections, huh? So what? Why are we having? What about Viktor Orban in Hungary? Huh? Why are we having this conversation? Israel is not inside New York. It's demanding loyalty to a different country, even to be a mayor in this country, is considered commonplace for mainstream media. They think, of course, if you want to be a mayor of a city in America, first you have to say that you'll serve Israel. That is not normal. That is very, very abnormal. And by the way, one last thing, for all the people out there going, oh, well, you don't know, New York's very Jewish. Yeah, we do know that. They're Jewish Americans. Assuming that they want the mayor of New York to serve Israel used to be an anti-Semitic position, accusing Jews in America of having dual loyalty. But now the media just owns it. Like, yes, of course. I mean, I guess that's their excuse for why he has to serve Israel and visit Israel and applaud Israel. And it's no excuse at all. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.